is a principality. A principality rules not just over a city. Those are lesser demons ruling over cities. They rule over empires. They rule over entire nations. America has a demon over it that's a prince spirit. Now I want to tell you what it is. It's the spirit of pharmakia. And that's the word for sorcery in the New Testament. It's also a word used drug addiction. We are an addicted society. We are addicted to alcohol. We are addicted to drugs. Come on, somebody, help me preach this. And that is the spirit that this nation battles. All the fentanyl coming over, all the drugs coming over. Addicted to a pharmakia demon. And that is mentioned in the word sorcery in the book of Revelation. That Greek word is pharmakia. Now, let me mention a couple things to you. I'm going to be going into some stories that may be new to you, but all of these are facts. Some of these I know personally by talking to individuals. When President Obama was the president of the United States, I received a call from a former general overseer of the Church of God, and he came and he said, Perry, there is a man, and I'll leave the country out because somebody watching might could figure this out, and he said he would like to talk to you and he'd like to meet you. Well, I didn't know who the man was other than he was bringing him. In my upstairs office, several men came from this country with this particular gentleman, and I found out why he wanted to come and see me. He owned a major rail company where he makes the rails, he makes the trains, we would call them trains, for the rail systems all throughout Europe. He was a very wealthy businessman. One country in Eastern Europe owed him $700 million. He had put their rail system in for the entire country. He had been hearing that California was going to connect with Nevada through a major rail system and also throughout the West Coast. And he said, I don't know why, he must have saw me on television, so he thought I personally knew President Obama. And he thought, can Perry Stone, if I meet with him, contact President Obama? Yeah, can you hear? Hey, Prez, what's up? No, I mean, no, I didn't know President Obama personally. I knew a lot of people who knew him. And so I told him, well, I'm not quite able to do this. So we went into discussions. He said, well, you know, I'm a new Christian. And he's using a translator. I'm a new Christian. I said, wow, how did you come to know the Lord? And he began to explain it. But he told me something that I will never forget. There were 300 families that ruled the entire world. They owned the banking systems, they owned the education systems, the universities are on the boards, they own the food, they own the rail, they own the air, and there is, and I found out later from an actual count that you can take, and I'm not going to name names, some of them you would know, some of them you wouldn't, but here's what he said, but what I want to tell you is one of the reasons I came to know the Lord was the fact that I was dealing with European Luciferians. And I said, now I've heard that term, but what does that term mean? And he explained it to me in this very simple term. He said, you have to understand that in parts of Europe, most people were either Catholic or Orthodox. But he said they turned away from their father and mother's religion. They thought it was too bland. There was nothing to it. It was rituals. And he said, a lot of people, he said, I'm telling you, these are people I've had dinner with in their palaces. He said they get together and they pray over a meal blessing Lucifer. And then they begin to worship him. And I said, I've heard this. Is this really true? He said, absolutely. He said, well, let me explain to you why. They know in the Bible, based on their upbringing, that Satan is the God of this world. And they noticed in Luke 4 that he offered Jesus the kingdoms of the world. They do not believe Lucifer is evil. They believe God has mistreated Lucifer. That Lucifer is actually in control of the world systems. So their theory of this group that this man shared with me was this, that if we can give ourselves over to Lucifer to honor him, not disrespect him, then he in fact will honor us. Therefore, he will bless our businesses globally. He will help us to be the ruler of the kingdoms of this world. And I won't go into all the detail, but he began to explain to me how this group actually exists, how they do exist, how there were individuals in our own government that were actually a part of these organizations. Now, here's what we're seeing today, and I know you see it, I see it, we all see it. You see, I see, we see. I guess that's how I can say it. Have you ever noticed that in Mark chapter 5, there was a man called the man of Gadara that was possessed by a legion of demons. And the head demon said, my name is Legion, for we are many. A legion in the Roman time was approximately over, well, there's different numbers, 5,800 up to 6,000. So that means that this one man had thousands of demonic spirits in him. Now, I want to show you about 3 to 4 points that is made in the Gospels about this man of Gadara being possessed by a multitude of demons demons and how he was reacting in the area and had people absolutely frightened. Number one, the Bible talks about how this man was violent. And when you look at him, you see how he could take chains and he could break chains and he could break bonds. He was very, very violent. Let's compare that to today. When you see mobs of people get together, not one person, not two, but you see 100 or 1,000, understand this, that if they are possessed by demons, they are joining their demons together. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but people who are against Christianity, people that are against the Bible, most of them are very unhappy people. You can't talk Jesus, Bible, or church, and they want to get mad. They want to foam. Really, they start foaming. Their eyes start rolling in their head. And if you will not notice the mob mentality in America, what happens when they get together, the first thing they want to do is start destroying somebody's property. They want to burn a car. They want to burn a house down. They want to throw rocks at glasses. They want to tear up entire cities. This is the spirit that this man had, where he was violent, where he's breaking chains and he's breaking things. Then we read that he's continually crying out loud. So his voice is heard through those mountains, screaming out loud. If you've ever noticed the mob mentality in the United States at times during protests, these individuals are always yelling. They cannot carry on a normal conversation. You cannot look at them and rationalize with them. Immediately they will start yelling, they will start screaming, frothing at the mouth, spitting on everything. What is the deal? The deal is that when demons get together, they react violently. When they get together through people, they are very loud. They yell uncontrollably. And the Bible said he even did it late at night. And a lot of this activity of destroying our cities happens after the sun goes down, if you've ever noticed it. Then there was a head demon whose voice spoke through that man and said, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And I looked at that and I said, guess what? When people are beginning to speak who are controlled by spirits, you will notice that as they speak, it's not even them speaking. Sometimes it's completely irrational. Sometimes you can't even tell what they're saying.